Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.
You're watching Conversations with Jennylyn, and I don't disappoint. Today, I have another fascinating guest to share with you. The beautiful woman across the screen from me is Laurie Ditto. She is an author, and she has written two fascinating books. Today, I cannot wait to share her and the contents, or some of the contents of her book that's already published and book that is about to be published in May this year. Laurie Ditto, welcome to Conversations with Jennylyn.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennylyn, for having me today.
I have to tell you that I watch some influential people in the mornings when I get ready for work. And that's how I discovered you. You were on a television show talking about your first book, and it caught my attention. And I have since published and read your book and succeeded in contacting you. And that's why we can be doing this today. How many years have we been trying to do this?
I think it's definitely been over a year because of all of COVID. So it's definitely been at least the full year because we talked before COVID.
Yes, I really believe that anything worth having is worth fighting for. And I am someone who, if I believe in something, I usually do my research before I begin my fight because I want to make sure I'm fighting the good fight.
That's
And
right.
then I never give up until I get what I want because I really believe in why I want it. So today, let's talk about Laurie Ditto's first book and the inspiration for it.
Thank you. So the book that Jennylyn's talking about is called The Hell Conspiracy. And the Hell Conspiracy came to be because in on August 28, 2008, in a vision, I went to hell. And I was not a spectator while I was in hell. I went to hell, and when I arrived, I heard three things. You are in hell eternally for unforgiveness. And it was righteousness that sent me to hell. Jenny, I would have never thought that I could have ever been somebody who went to hell, but I did not take what Jesus says with the utmost of seriousness because, he taught us in Matthew 18 about we must forgive. And for me, for different reasons, it would have been too painful. I thought it was too hard. I thought it was just easier to keep it covered. I did not forgive. And today I believe that had I not went to hell, I would eternally be burning in hell. I'm so thankful to the Lord that He did whatever it took to shock me into realizing that we were forgiven everything and we must forgive. So, at first, when it first happened, Jennylyn, I was mostly concerned about myself. I was I needed to be sure that I was not going to go to hell. And that took some time. And after that, I was concerned about my family. And now, having worked through those, I am concerned about people. So I am an evangelist. I was an evangelist before I went to hell. Um, and now having straightened out my own life, I'm still an evangelist. I really desire that people would know our wonderful God of the Bible and that we would understand what his ways are and follow him and obey him. I think it comes down to just two words, right? Trust and obey Jesus. So that's what Jennylyn's talking about, that book. And it was, I wrote it in hopes of showing people that hell is real. You don't have to believe me or my experience, but you do have to believe what Jesus has said about hell in the Bible. It's a real place. And unless you choose to obey God, you cannot go to heaven. And there's only two places you can go. You can go to heaven or you can go to hell. And so it radically changed my life. And now I desire to tell the whole truth. Let's talk about heaven. Let's talk about hell. And what does it take? What does believing in Jesus mean to go to heaven?
Laurie, I have been called a trailblazer. I have named my show Conversations with Jennylyn because I don't want it to be in a box. I want to have conversations with all types of people about all topics because we live in a world that is just like so full of information, and a lot of people have to have proof for what they believe. And if they haven't had a certain experience, when someone is relating theirs, like you are, they hold it in question and very quickly judge it because it hasn't been their experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I know this firsthand because there's someone I trusted very, very much, and I thought trusted me. And when I related a certain experience I had, and I'm not someone who will fabricate craziness in my head and tell people. If I talk about something, I'm absolutely sure I've experienced it. And I don't do social drugs, and I'm not a drunk. So I know what I feel has happened to me. And this person's reaction to my truth was devastating. And I finally decided that you can't force people to believe your experience, even if your experience is meant in some way to shed light and bring awareness for them. People will accept and believe what resonates with them. So we're living in a world with so many different religious denominations and so many different beliefs, like Buddhists. Like I've talked to some Hindus, and they said that one of their gods is Jesus, and who's been reincarnated in another life. For people who do not believe the Bible, how do you explain to them that you suddenly just had this experience where you found yourself in hell? What triggered it? What happened? How did it happen? I know these are questions people are going to be asking. And clearly, you had this experience because you are overwhelmingly convincing. I heard you. And I'm someone who I listen to people and I believe what they're saying. I believe that is their reality, even though it may not be mine. But I listen with an open mind, and then I go and do my research before I form a conclusion. I don't just sit there and go, "Oh, that what she's saying is craziness. How could you just have a vision and end up in hell?" So, what would you say to those types of people?
Well, I can respect that it's real easy to believe in something when it happens to you, and that it's difficult to believe in something if it has not happened to you. So I understand that. I'm also human, but many things have happened to many different people that have not happened to me. For instance, men do not have babies, but it does not mean that there's not a birth canal that a baby's going to come through. In fact, that man who was born came through a birth canal. So if you talk about birth canal,
Great illustration.
so I understand. I understand. And however, we are three parts. We are body, soul, and spirit. Our soul being our mind, our will, our emotion, and we can touch our body. We cannot touch our emotion, although we know when it's exploding around us. We cannot touch our thoughts the way that we touch our body, although we think them. And we have wills. We have set up our mind. And so that's the thing I want to talk to is people's will. Before you set your will, I want you to open your mind. And I don't want you to be so open-minded that your brains fall out. I really want you to think about and research what it is that's happening in the spirit realm. And so that's where this happened. It happened in the spirit realm. The Lord took my spirit and he took me to hell. Now, the day that it happened, it was a Thursday. We always hold evangelism meetings on a Thursday, and the sound person for our meeting was not there. So I was back in the back working the sound machine, and the sound machine is, I was standing off to the side. So it's almost directly in the back of the room, and there's an aisle that would take you up to the front. At the front of the room is where the little worship band was set up. And exactly in the front of the room, in this room, there is a fireplace. So it was a real room. It was really happening. My spirit is very sensitive to when angelic presence comes into the room, so much so that my boss had asked, when you feel angels coming into the room, I want you to come and let me know, because he wanted to, his spirit picks up on different things. And so that morning I came to him and I said, there's an angelic presence in the room today. And he said, do you know why they're here? No, I didn't. I didn't know why the angels were there. I thought that God was going to take someone in the spirit and take them to heaven. That's what had happened to me in the past. When I felt that, that's what I thought was getting ready to happen. So I did not have a grid for what I was getting ready to experience. And when it was done, um, it was not something that was just like, okay, it was a bad dream. You feel better as soon as you're awake. I was sick. I tell people more like insane for 6 days. So if this had just been a bad dream or an idea that I had dreamt up in my head, I don't think that it could have lasted.
So you were sitting in the church working when you had this experience. It just came out of nowhere.
Well, I was at an evangelism meeting. They were playing music, and the songs that we were worshiping God to are very evangelistic songs, talking about the value of a soul, spending eternity with God. And so I was in that place of worship where you close your eyes, and you try and feel in your heart the connections that the song was bringing up emotion. But what happened, Jennylyn, was the gates of hell, the two realities came close together. The reality of hell and the reality that I was living in came very close together. And I could feel heat enter the room, so much heat that I thought something must have exploded for the amount of heat, a bomb dropped or something, for the amount of heat that had just entered the room. And that heat is what caused my eyes to open to see what was happening. And that's when I saw two realities together. I saw the fireplace at the front of the room, and at the same time, over top of the fireplace, almost like double exposure on a picture, I saw these gates of hell opened up, and a rush of heat came into the room. A hand came out, and it didn't have fingers, but this I knew it was an arm and a hand. It came out and it grabbed a hold of the center of me, and it began dragging me back into hell. It was like a dart had grabbed a hold of me and was now pulling me from the back of the room up to the front of the room, where the two realities were now separate, and one reality was the gates.
You're telling the truth. 11:11. I can't tell you every single day I see this. I just happen to look down and I see 11:11 on the clock. And I'm told it's an angel number. I've been learning a lot about this stuff. So I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I just had to show you that. So when you went in there, how long were you in there?
Oh my goodness, the worship was still going on when I came back. Our worship usually goes for about 30 minutes, and it had already started. and I was back before it ended. So, I say the maximum it could have been was 30 minutes, but my physical body did not leave the room. No one was shocked when I came back, except when I came back, I was screaming. Not some light little screaming. I mean, I was screaming
Did
because of
everyone around you look at you like, what is going on with her?
the my boss, who was at the front of the room directing the meeting. He came back quickly, he said, and he grabbed a hold of my shoulders and he just started shaking me. So he was the first person that I saw back in the room.
So basically, this music was playing, and you transformed into this trance. And in that, during that, um, how do I say it? Your consciousness shifted from where you were in the human body, and you found yourself in a spiritual awareness in hell.
Yes, I in a vision, I went to hell in a vision, and I felt it all.
What
I
else did you see there besides feeling the heat? What did you see in
uh,
there? Because
so
I've done other interviews with people who've described going there, and they describe a lot of suffering and seeing a lot of people there. Tell us what you saw.
well, I was trapped in a teardrop shaped cell, suspended over something that was bubbling and had fire shooting out over it from it. There were people suspended at different levels. So there were people closer to the fire, bubbling fire, than I was, but there were people higher away from the fire. Um, so each person was trapped inside their own uh, prison cell.
Oh,
People everywhere. Right away, it was so hot that my skin began dripping off of me, and I tried to hold my skin on because you're burning, and you know how when you get burned, just a little bit of heat next to a burn hurts. So imagine your whole body being burned at the same time. And there were significant pains. Your skin dripping off was a significant pain. The heat was a significant pain. Also, I felt all of the water in my body evaporate due
I
to the
am not being disrespectful when I ask you this question. None of my questions have any disrespect attached to them, but I just am asking you questions. I know people watching this show. I have a wide spectrum of viewers, and some of them will just think, oh my God, she had some kind of mushrooms or some weird drug that day, or she ate something weird.
right, right.
What did you do? What frame of mind were you like infuriated by someone that day?
No,
Would
no. I mean, I have replayed that day over and over in my mind so many times, looking for clues, and much as a person replays an accident in their mind. And for me, this was the worst thing that had ever happened to me. So I have replayed that day so many times. The day before was a great day. I had been praying the day before for the city of London with people from England, and that morning woke up very happy, kissed my husband goodbye. He went to work, I went to work. I was very excited. We had a guest speaker coming in that I'd been looking forward to hearing in evangelism, a missionary. So everything was going great. And Jennylyn, I don't drink, I don't do drugs. uh, I'm a pretty boring person.
you're like me? I do drink wine though.
you
My
know
goodness.
so it wasn't it was it was an overwhelming experience. And so it's very dark there. There's shades of darkness. And the fire that I saw is not like the fire on the earth. It's not red and yellow, um, orange. The fire that I saw in hell was black.
And so when you were removed from your state of consciousness and taken into this experience, the next thing you were aware of is you were in this place. Were you aware of being transported there, or the next time you're
Oh
aware?
no, I knew I was going there. As I was going there, I was being pulled from the room that I was in into this place. And I tried very hard to break the connection. I thought if I, with all my weight, if I threw myself back, I could break this connection, but I could not. And I looked at the people that I was passing frantically. They had their eyes closed. They were worshiping God with their hands up. They did not see that I was being,
Taken.
yeah, they did not see that. And I passed the gates of hell were thicker than the length of my body. And I'm 5'5". So the what I could see was just a gate for as far as I could see. And then when they closed, they made such a bad noise. I knew no one could reach me. Those gates, you can't just knock them down. These gates, the gates of hell, are extremely secure.
Well, I don't want to ask you how you got out yet. Yet. I want to hear more about what happened in there. Oh
Well,
my God.
hell is worse than anything that I can share. You know, I've told people, Jennylyn, I'm never guilty of exaggerating hell, because you can't. You cannot exaggerate the horrors of hell. Um, there was a significant pain when I looked down in my left arm and I saw something that's yellow in my from my wrist to my elbow. I was staring at that part, trying to keep the skin on my arm, and I saw yellow stuff inside of my bones, and it quickly turned black, and that was an extremely significant pain. Well, now I know that to be bone marrow, what gives life. And there is no life in hell. So that went black. And there is no water in hell. And so that's why the water that was in me evaporated. And my bones were grinding on my bones. It was extremely, extremely painful. And then um, as the fire would burn me, I twisted and turned and I broke my own back by trying to stay away from the pain. And the pain that we feel on the earth is still there. You don't just stop feeling it. In fact, it just intensifies, because there's no one to bring you, there's no morphine, there's no Tylenol or ibuprofen, there's none of that. Terrible things like my eyes broke apart. Nothing works in unity
Let
in
me ask you this. Were you someone who obsessed about the fear of going to hell?
no.
Because there are a lot of people that, I mean, I was raised with a Catholic upbringing, and your this heaven and hell thing is like drummed into your head. And I remember having to go to confession as a child and not having sins or being aware of sins. And because they forced me into confession, I left confession feeling like I'm going to burn in hell because I lied to the priest, because I made up sins. I stole sugar. I fought with my brother because I had to have sins to confess. So if you were someone who had a innate fear of going to hell or was raised with that type of upbringing, and I'm asking this for anyone watching the show who may be thinking this, you didn't have any of that.
No, no. I afterwards I was very shocked looking at the lifestyle that I lived. Not that I was trying to say that I was perfect before. That's not what I'm saying. But um, I am an evangelist, so I read the Bible, I study the Bible, and I go share the truths of Jesus with people who don't yet know him. That's one thing. Another thing, I lead my grandchildren in ways that are righteous. I try to be a good wife. We tithe. I disciple people. I mean, I worship God. I don't believe in mixing things. I believe in holiness. And for as much as I can, I want to live a holy life. So it was not anywhere on my grid that the unforgiveness that was in me, had I, you don't deal with your unforgiveness, you're going to hell. One of the things that's unique about when you go to hell or you go to heaven is that your whole brain works in both those places. Right now, we don't use the majority of our brains. And so I knew things in hell that I had not known before. I understood in the Bible, Matthew 18, I understood it very clearly in hell. And I did not have that understanding before I went to hell, but the understanding that was given to me there made it absolutely righteous that people who are in hell for unforgiveness should be in hell for unforgiveness. I had read Matthew 18, Jennylyn, but I had never personally applied those truths to my life as if I were cherry picking the Bible. I'll take this because I like it, but I won't take that because I don't like that. And I find that's what we do.
Were you harboring a lot of unforgiveness against someone, or do you think you were chosen for this experience because you are an evangelist?
When I came back, that's what people wanted to tell me. My husband, my friends, they wanted to tell me, well, you were chosen for this because, you're a good evangelist. No, that's not true.
Okay, what is the truth?
The truth is that I was sent to hell because of the unforgiveness that was in my heart, the refusal to forgive people. And I was sent to hell because of my life. Now, if that helps people today, that's a bonus. But I wasn't sent to hell because, oh, you're a good evangelist and you'll come back and tell people. Now, later, much later, since that happened, because that happened in 2008, I wasn't ready to help other people at all, really, until 2015 or 2013 with helping other people understand.
Why not?
Because it was so in from 2008 to 2000 to 2013, I was busy making sure that my own life was clean,
Mhm.
that my children, my family was clean. So much so that people are like, isn't that nice that Laurie would help us? Well, that's God today, because my number one concern, and it should be people's number one concern, is, are you going to make it to heaven? On the airplane, they say, if there's a problem, put your mask on first before you help other people. And the idea of forgiveness is really important, because what Jesus said is so true. At the end of Matthew 18, Jesus makes a statement. He says, and so my heavenly Father will do to you also, if you do not forgive your brother from your heart. So then you got to go find, what is he talking about? What is God going to do to us? And that is, all of your sin will be put back on you if you do not forgive. And the reason why that I didn't understand on the earth, that I understood very clearly in heaven, is because the wicked servant in Matthew 18, he accepted his debt to be forgiven, but he did not change his heart. There was not a transformation. He did not become like the king. If you read it very quickly, you'll just think that the king he just forgave the debt. But in reality, what the king did was, he gave you a gift that would make you like him. Now you'll become just like me. And obviously, the man did not accept that gift that the king had given him, because since you've been forgiven, now you can forgive and you have a desire.
So we're going to go back to hell because you have to tell us how you got out of there. But you keep referencing heaven, which tells me you also went to heaven in this experience. But before we go there, there's so many other denominations on this planet. They're the Hindus, they're the Muslims, they're the Buddhists. I believe personally that all of these people are also part of the God structure. Christians, it's our God is Jesus, but it doesn't mean that these people are worshiping and their worship is falling on deaf ears. How does your experience relate to somebody, or how does your message? Oh my gosh, this can't be. Time is up. We'll keep going. Um, how then is somebody who's not a Christian? Does that mean that they're gonna go to hell?
Yeah. So that I'm clear, any Christian who does not follow the way of Jesus cannot go to heaven. And then anyone who does not know Jesus as God cannot go to heaven, because the scriptures teach that Jesus is the only way to the Father in heaven. So when I meet a Muslim or a Hindu or a Buddhist, my my I'm in love with their soul, and I want them to know the God who created the heavens and the earth. I want them to know the God, the Father of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I want them to know Jesus Christ, the only God who has covered your sin and able to bring you to heaven. So I tell everyone, there are many false gods. There's only one true God. And I want to help you meet this one true God so that you can spend eternity in heaven. Is it, and people say, isn't that prideful? No, it's not prideful, because once you find the maker of heaven and earth, this is the God that we worship. And that same God is the God, Jesus Christ, who is the only God. It is the only faith where the God pays the price for your sin. And the price for sin, the wages of sin, is death. And what kind of God, Jennylyn, says, okay, you deserve hell. You're going to go to hell for your sin, but let me pay that price. Let me go to hell so that you don't have to pay the wages of sin. That's death. Let me take that for you. And
Right.
if we will let Jesus take that for us, then that means that you were purchased for God. That and the price is innocent shed blood. And I don't have any, and you don't have any, and no one has any, because all people have sinned. So we all need that Savior.
So let's find out how you got out of hell, and where you went from there, because we've already run out of time. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Thank you. There was nothing special that I did to get out of hell. I don't know how, why God let me out of hell, but I am eternally grateful and thankful that Jesus let me, he brought me out. And
Did you see him? How did he come in and go, Laurie, you don't belong in here. You belong in heaven, and take you to heaven?
nope.
What happened? How did
It,
you come out? How did you get out? Because
at
you're
one
out.
minute, yeah, 1 minute I was burning, and the next minute my boss was shaking me.
So you didn't go to heaven in this experience.
No.
Okay, I see. Wow, what an experience.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And
very.
it's clearly an experience like that leaves an indelible mark. How
Mhm.
did it change your life?
I take sin very, very serious. I take Christianity very serious. And so my life, I made sure my life understands the ways of God, and that I am not only compliant, but I'm willingly obedient to all these wonderful. Once you look at what God has for us, why is God saying, I want you to do it this way? Other than he has great things planned for us. He has a great life ahead for us. And so do it this way, and it will be much less painful if you do it the way of God. And I really care about other people and where they will spend eternity. So it's good to have those kind of conversations. People say there's two things you can't talk about. You can't talk about politics, and you can't talk about religion. And so I've said, you know who made that rule, don't you? You can't talk about these two things. Well, that was the devil. The devil does not want us talking politics or religion Because if we talk religion and share with one another the truth that we found, and truth being a capital T, truth being Jesus himself, of course, many people will make it to heaven. Hallelujah. And so that's what we want, is heaven.
Laurie, I am so grateful that you allowed me this opportunity. Now, I've read your first book. Tell us what to look forward to in the second book, and what has happened since the first that's led you to a second book.
Well, I hadn't always intended to write two books. The first book, The Hell Conspiracy, is set up. There's a testimony of heaven, a vision of heaven, and then the story of hell and the things I learned in hell. And the last chapter in The Hell Conspiracy is the most powerful vision of heaven I've ever had, is in that book. The second book is called Encountering Heaven. And that one, Jennylyn, I put 15 supernatural visions that I have had in that book. Why 15? I put all the ones the Lord allows me to speak of. I put them in there because I believe Jesus is coming back soon, and people need, their spirit needs to encounter him. So tell spiritual stories. And I think more people have seen things in the spirit than they realize. And as I tell all these different visions, I think there will be something there that will connect with a spiritual experience that you may have already had.
You better believe I had spiritual experiences. This is why I'm always open to learning more, because when mine started, I kept saying it's craziness. Oh, that's craziness. I was warned very early in my life, like 10 years ago, that something was being done in that realm to me. And I was never raised with any of it, so just fell right off of my back, and I dismissed it. And I thought, I'm a good person. I believe in God. Nothing can touch me. And then physical manifestations started happening that I could not explain. And that's what drove me to my spiritual evolution. And that is why now I know what I know. And I'm positive that what I know is real because I've experienced it. And I've had a few people on my show that are working in the spiritual world who are spiritually aware, and they've all told me not to get frustrated with people who don't believe me, because the difference between the people who believe and the people who don't is the experience. And so this life is full of a lot of different, journeys and information and things that we see and don't see. But just because we don't see something, or because it wasn't our experience, doesn't mean it wasn't yours. And so I've learned to respect whatever people tell me happened to them, even if I can't wrap my head around it. It happened to you, and who am I to refute your experience? Where do I get the permission or the power to do that? And so I thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I am hoping that whomever is watching this episode will get something from it that will help them. And if they have any confusion, that you may have offered some clarification. And that's the reason I enjoy bringing these different topics to the table, because I believe every single subject that I have discussed on my show with someone has resonance with someone watching it. And then I know I've done my job. So thank you so much, Laurie. I can't wait to read your second book.
Thank you, Jennylyn. You have a great day.
You too. God bless, and continue to do what you're doing.
Thank you.
Spread in the good word.
Bye-bye now.
Thank you for watching Conversations with Jennylyn. When a conversation is all you need to be inspired, and hopefully Laurie has shed some light on some area of your life that you may have had questions and at least brought you inspiration. And I will see you next time with another fascinating guest.
Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.